I can show you studies that show that as a man makes less and less money, the likelihood of him going a year without sex increases.
Yep.
That is hypergamy.
So this is the classic hypergamy shot here, okay? Everybody knows the chart on the right-hand side there, which is, if you got, this is from 1 to 10. If you got women who are like down to 1 is always going to be looking for a guy who's an 8 or above. And I want Mike to look at here is on the left-hand side here, which is the assortative mating strategy here.
Yes.
And this is the one that has now, everybody wants to say that this is really the way things go. Now, I wanted to point something else out here because we were just talking about genuine desire and just this, feral lust and for monkey sex kind of thing, right? And made a distinction here is that when you're looking at who's pairing off with who and who is marrying who, whether it's socioeconomic status or who's good looking and who's not good looking and all this other stuff, it would be in a perfect world, ones would get with ones and twos would get with twos and threes would get with threes. And that's simply not the way that we see it, especially not after the advent of hormonal birth control and the sexual revolution. And I'm sure in the 20th century, this probably played out very well when women were dependent on men. Why? Because men who didn't have the ability to generate that genuine desire, they could make up for it and compensate for it with value added. So if they had a really great job or they came from a really good family or they were well educated, those kinds of things. Because you had that. Now it's a different game. And so like I said, with the advent of hormonal birth control, and women can pick and choose longer. That's why the average age of first marriage is 30 years old. That's why we see what's really true, which is the hypergamy side of everything here. And so just to put a period on the end of this, the thing that I'm seeing right now is people keep saying, well, it's all about assortative mating and everything else.
Yeah.
Okay, that's who people line up with. Maybe a 5 gets with a 5 and they marry each other, and that seems like the most logical situation. It's not about who's pairing with who, it's who wants to who.
Yes, okay, so you're bringing my point up. When we look on the left, it's assortative mating, and on the right, we look at hypergamy. Mm-hmm. What we're trying to say is what's on the right is the desires of women. Obviously, 70% of men aren't virgins, so it's not like only the top 30% of men are getting laid at all. But what we see on the left is what ends up happening. And the thing is, what we hear from, I don't know, what do we call these people? The blue pill people? I don't know what we call Jasmine Jafar and Destiny.
The uninitiated.
Whatever, the blue pill. Mm-hmm. The blue pill side of the thing. Well, the thing is, what they're saying is because on the left we see the assortative mating, that means that hypergamy isn't real. No, it doesn't mean that. What it means is when women select for a man who makes $100,000 a year and is 6 feet tall, that's only 2.3% of men. And when you select for not obese and not married, it gets less than 1% of men. The reason why, I heard Destiny say this and I also heard Jasmine say this, the barista is not dating the billionaire. And the reason why is because there's probably 100,000 baristas in this country, and I believe there's 56 billionaires. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's the difference. There aren't enough male billionaires that are single. There aren't enough billionaires to date the baristas. And so when you listen, and it was actually DatePsych who pointed this out, women tend to settle for a man who's a 5, and men tend to settle for a man or a woman who's an 8. And what he was trying to say is it's actually women who are settling more. No, they're not. Homap said it correctly. When women say they're settling, they're not. What the settling looks like is that red chart right there. Mm-hmm. They're an 8, dating an 8, but in their mind, they're settling because their preferences is that chart on the right. The chart on the right makes the girl who's a 4 think that she can get an 8 because she f***ed an 8 one day. The girl who's a 7 thinks because she Drake one time that she can get another guy to marry her. And so because of that, because she wants the 8, but she ends up settling for the 5, she ends up being like, well, I settled. No, you ended up about where you're supposed to be. And that is not a function of hypergamy or non-hypergamy. It's a function of economics. That's what's going on. There just aren't enough men out there that are able to do that kind of thing. And so that's what the issue is.
How many baristas want to the billionaire?
Yes, that's correct.
The Chippendales.
Correct. Now here's the thing. Now what the response?
At the top of your game.
Now again, I'm gonna be the
billionaires association.
I'm gonna be the blue pill. I'm gonna be the blue pill advocate again. Okay. So now here is the blue pill advocate. So that what they're saying is, okay, yeah, hypergamy is real, Michael, but you see the assortative mating thing. That means it's good news for everyone. Everything works, except that it doesn't work because you look at the amount of people that are getting married, and it's the lowest rate possible. What's happened is that bottom group, they're not going across and getting married. Those women are just doing nothing. They're not getting married at all. That's essentially what's happening. That's what's going on. And at the top, here's the other issue. And this is just for like the top 5% of men. I got to look up the status on this. But like we see the men at the bottom having little to no sex, but to see the men in the top 5%, the number of sexual partners that they've had is like doubled. Well, something's broken here. If 63%
might be working perfectly, and we just never experienced it.
If 63% of men under the age of 30 are single, but only 33% of women, who the are these women dating? And the answer is they're either dating the same guy or they're dating an older guy.
The invisible guys.
No.
You can't see them. You don't know about it.
No, but what I'm saying, of that 63% of men that are single, about half of them are invisible. And that's the reality of the situation. So while we keep talking about it's a good thing because of assortative mating, I can show you studies that show that as a man makes less and less money, the likelihood of him going a year without sex increases.
Yep.
That is hypergamy. Hypergamy is real and it manifests in real life all the time. Also, the study that showed, this was one of my most interesting studies to me, as a man is taller, so if a man goes from 5'8" to like 6'2", his lifetime sexual partners increases by 33%. But here's the crazy part. The same thing happens for women, and I don't know why. I cannot figure this one out. If a woman is taller, she actually has more lifetime sexual partners.
Serious?
I don't know why. And it's not quite to the same level, but it's a really, really interesting study. The other one is if a man is shorter, then when they surveyed them, those men have sex with their wives more often than taller men do and are less likely to leave in divorce.
Yeah.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Because hypergamy isn't real, right?
Some level of consciousness, they understand their situation.
Send your hate my way, buddy. Sorry. Isn't that great? It's so awesome. Those f***ing pesky stats. Hate that. This is one other thing. I don't want to get too far off the subject, but people don't like shows like this because it's not that the stats because they can't say that the stats are wrong. They know the stats are right. The problem is, from their estimation, and this is what from Municat, this is the only thing I can come up with. She's not offended by the stats that we come up with. She's offended that men are even trying to figure this out.
Yeah, you're asking the wrong questions.
No, what's offensive is that this idea that men are trying to use science to figure out intersexual dynamics when it's like, duh, bro. It's just obvious, bro. And then while she's saying that, a pretty girl who has millions of followers on YouTube is saying that while a third of men who could never get with a girl like her are sitting there suffering. And then when evolutionary psychology could possibly shed light on why that is, she's like, no, strike that down. I can't believe you talk about that stuff.
Don't ask the questions.
Dude, the hip to waist ratio stuff is unassailable. I'm sorry. Ma'am, if you're watching this, which I know you're not, actually you might be, you clipped me in your video like 4 times. If you're watching this, anything you want, come on my show and let's debate. I promise you, no name calling, no nothing. If you want to go up against the data when it comes to hip to waist ratio, let's do it. And then what I need you to do though is propose an alternative theory. And the other problem is this: no matter what numbers David Buss or Lita Cosmides or whoever came up with, she was going to have a problem with it. If the number was 0.75 or 0.72 or the idea that men, these academic men, have the audacity to try to figure out women using science. These men, I can't believe that you would even consider. And then the other part is it's like, well, it turns out beauty actually isn't as subjective as you think. And you're teaching people this. How dare you? You're telling people how to think. No, I'm not. I'm not telling people how to think.
Clearly, you have no idea what it's like to be pretty.
Yeah, exactly. A beautiful woman is telling you to stop studying how to find beautiful women. Does that seem great? Has anyone else figured that out? When really, really good-looking dating coaches are telling you to just be yourself, is anybody else kind of seeing what's going on? I don't mind that you're being sold to, but at least know you're being sold to. I love Chris Williamson. I love his podcast. But when a guy that good looking is telling me to just be myself, must be really nice, Chris, to be that good looking and tell men to just be themselves.
Clearly,
I'm sure it works out really well for you. And by the way, like Alexander, like you too, but man, I am not confident enough to pull off a man bun. I'm not that good looking,
it's
bro.
a chin bun.
The chin bun. I am not that good looking to pull that off, bro. If I was that good looking, I'd be sitting there telling men to just be themselves too.
Zoe, how tall is your boyfriend?
I don't know, like 6'3".
It's really funny how bad women are at judging men's height. It's unbelievable.
I never really asked.
Yeah, no, it's funny because
Ask. Give me a rough estimate. You know how tall
Austin Dunham's 5'10", and he goes off and he asks a bunch of girls how tall he is, and they are so far off. So many women were saying he was 5'4". So one woman said he was 6'3". Women are completely off when it comes to height.
Next time you go into 7-Eleven, look at that thing so they know if like the guy leaving that just ripped off the 7-Eleven and say how tall
I need to go there. I need to go to 7-Eleven and take a picture next to it.
So,
Have you seen how women do it online? We look at the pictures on Instagram, and then we look at their phone, and we put on the phone.
Yeah.
Like, and work out how tall they are from their phone.
It's so funny. There's a Reddit article right now saying that I'm 5'8". No, I'm not kidding. Look it up right now. They're saying that they use ChatGPT to figure out that I'm 5'8".
how tall are you?
I'm 5'2".
You're 5'2".
No, okay.
Yeah.
5'8".
5'8".
That's great.
That's funny. We at the end of Fresh and Fit, we all had to stand up in front of the thing and see how.
Oh, yeah, and they took it down. And they took it down. They took the video down.
It's on Rumble now.
Is it?
Yeah.
It's just so crazy, man.
It's up on Rumble.
All right. One of the things we talk about on the show is like, I don't want to be offensive. I don't want to deliberately be offensive. I know I'm offensive, but I don't want to deliberately be offensive. But I do want to discuss innate sex differences between the genders because that's one of the things that is trying to be curtailed. When you say things like a trans woman is a biological woman, which isn't true, what you're doing is trying to say we're all the same, and we're not all the same. That's the thing. And it's okay that we're not all the same.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that we're not all the same. It's terrific. I would not like Delia as much if she had as much testosterone as I did. She would be intolerable.
It is getting a little bit more blended now.
It is.
Of course. No.
Yeah.
This is a great point. Society is trying to make us more blended. But as we do that, see, I don't think of things in good or bad. I think of things that they work or they don't work. And the reality is trying to make everyone equal actually in the end doesn't work.
Yeah, it's not natural.
Doesn't. Well, forget about it. I mean, natural is part of it. Not being natural makes something inefficient, but there's certain things that just simply don't work. That some things work and some things don't work. What were you saying?
Yeah, well, guys and girls being the same or having the same masculine and feminine energy, because a lot of girls are now balanced where they have a lot of masculine energy. Now guys and girls, they're not attracted to each other, and they need super masculine dudes to pull them out of that masculine energy.
But do you understand the problem? Like, so what you're saying, while you and I know it to be true, the idea, if you've seen this, what was the article? I don't know if you can find it, where progressive liberal women were looking to date conservative men because all the liberal men that they had to choose from were so non-masculine that it turned them off.
Yeah.
Because what they wanted to believe is that they lived in a world where men and women were the same and they could still be sexually attracted to men that were just as feminine as them. And then in reality, Charles Darwin knocks on the door and it's like, hey, natural selection. Like in reality, men in their masculine, on average, in general, are more attractive, and women who are feminine, on average, are more attractive to the opposite sex in a heterosexual relationship. That's the way it works. And here's the funny thing about the polarities. When you look at gay and lesbian relationships, you also find a masculine and feminine polarity, because the polarity is what makes it work. So you can find a top and a bottom with women or with men, and then what is it with women? It's a oh God, I can't remember. It's a bear. I forgot what the terms are. But
Stud?
yeah, a stud and a butch or whatever. I can't remember what it is.
The pillow princess?
Yeah, the pillow princess, whatever it is. No, lesbian would not be a pillow princess. You're a pillow princess? Yeah. So you guys, for those of you who don't know what pillow princess is, that means you have a threesome and one girl would go down on her, but she wouldn't go down on the other girl. That's what a pillow princess is. That's what it means.
I want
That means
pillow fight
that means you're 49% gay. If you're over 51% gay, you would go down on another woman. That's how it's determined. That's actually the scientific way to determine pillow princess.
Well, we know one girl who would be perfect to ask about the liberal going for the conservative masculine guy.
Who?
Farrah.
Farrah, of course. Yeah, for sure.
Personal experience with that.